Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I request all of you to please settle down. We are going to have a very wonderful session now, very interesting one. Friends, this session, as we have titled, is Leveraging Technology to Elevate the Sports Arena. It talks about how technology is changing the sports fields. Many times we don't connect the two things, technology and sports, but increasingly technology is creeping into the sports arena and is making deep changes. And I must acknowledge at this stage the role of Mr. Kaushik Malik, his friend, our friend of the council. Please give him a big round of applause. Because Mr. Kaushik is the one who is the architect of this session and he is the one who has designed the entire thing. It is his effort that we have today with us a team of eminent people, most of them coming from Germany, joining us for this session. And in the format, we are going to make a slight change. Instead of, that's why you don't see any chairs in the front. We'll first have a presentation by Mr. Jan Meyer, and then we'll have the panel of the guests. Mr. Jan Meyer is CEO of Innovation in Science at Hoffenheim, Germany. He was born as a sports scientist, a qualified psychologist. As a sports psychologist, he has worked with top athletes from various disciplines for over 25 years, including individual athletes as well as national teams and professional teams. From 2008 to 2021, he worked as a sports psychologist for PSG Hoffenheim. Since 2021, he has been the managing director of PSG 1899 Hoffenheim Academy GmbH. Sir, I hope I am correct. He is also an honorary professor at the Institute of Sports Science at Saarland University. Sir, may I request you to please come and make the presentation.
Yes, welcome everybody. It's an honor to be here and opening this panel. I'm Jan Meyer. Can't read the name, I think, because the tables are standing over there. I'm CEO responsible for innovation and science at TSG Hoffenheim. I don't know if somebody knows about this soccer club. It's a soccer club from Germany that's a little here. And we are a village all around you of only nature, not big cities. And yes, that's the first question perhaps. How is it possible that a village club can survive in the competition with big cities around? In the first league we have Bayern München, we have Frankfurt, we have Dortmund, and yes, the question is, how is this possible? Hoffenheim is now for 17 years in the first league without a break, and hopefully we get it in the 18th session as well. It's very hopeful at all, and the magic number you have to understand is the often called already 3,266. What is about these numbers? This is the number of the citizens living in Hoffenheim, and all these people get it now for 17 years in the Bundesliga, and I want to explain you how we do this, because it's not a miracle or a wonder or something like this. It's a method, and the method is about the title of this panel. It's technology. Some background numbers of our club. We are number one, what means from the biggest transfer surplus in Germany. We have, I think at the moment, is 125 or something like this. Players from our academy get to a professional level. That's number one as well in Germany. We made it now 4 times to international league, European League or Champions League. I was there at the club when we did it, but directly qualification from place 3 to Champions League as a village, and we never dreamed of this, but it came through. It was a big moment. And life that we have the money. And as you see here, it's a little bit small, you can't perhaps read it, is that we have more than 33% of our young players from the academy are reaching at the professional level. In other clubs from Bundesliga, it's about 4 or 5%. So it's really unique, and it's proof of concept, because why should a young player, 16-year-old, come to our club in the village? We have nothing to offer. What's important for a young player in this age? We have nothing, but they come because they believe in our concept. We have proof of concept because of numbers like this in the academy, the professional level, and at the female level as well. What is the secret behind, or the question, how is it possible that the village is so successful? It's the method, and the method is built up on technology. We measure 2 times annual the performance diagnostic of our team, and so we have lots of data that will help us, that we test and not guess what's good for the next talent and how to develop the next talent. We do this on a holistic approach, so we have something that are not so very special for other clubs. For example, we measure exactly the athleticism, endurance, jumping, physical speed and stuff. That's not so really new. We do injury prevention and health measurements. That's perhaps not so new as well, but pretty new. What's not doing so much other clubs, but is developed in Hoffenheim, is that we measure directly the skill of the soccer players, psychological aspects, and the biological age. Some insights about how we use these measurements with modern technology is now, for example, the measurement with skill. We have, together with a developer, built up this machine. That's a football now. And it's a very large ball throwing machine. So the ball can be thrown from every direction, 4 directions, and is to play in one of these targets. And at the beginning, when we get the machine, nobody knows how to measure soccer skills, because there was only measuring the ball is coming, and the question is the player putting the ball in the right goal? And there was 2 numbers coming out of this: how fast is the player, and did he get a right goal or not. So you developed 2 strategies. One strategy, the player was slow but very accurate, and the other was not so accurate but very fast. And then there was the question, how develop with this technology an algorithm to put these 2 numbers together. And the developer of this building told us the most difficult ball is the ball when the ball is coming directly from this direction in the back. But we measured and measured with this technology. It's built up, but you have to prove it in the practical way, how to use it, and perhaps modify the data coming out with data analysts to really improve that, show that these skills are useful in the practice and living the data that you really need. And we need the data that tell us which is good for the talent and how can a talent develop on his individual pathway the next step. What's very special for Hoffenheim is our psychological diagnostics. There was a question that's coming up after the World Championship in Germany, when the DFB gave us numbers about the average ball contact time, and we saw from the World Championship in 2006 to World Championships to 2014, it's going for 3 times faster. So the game is getting faster and faster and faster. And this not only numbers from the analysts show us, that's every coach tells us that the game is faster and faster. And the question is this only physical quickness, or had it to do something with mental fitness as well? And so we had a question how to measure mental speed or mental information processing speed. And there we looked in other spaces or other areas where mental speed is relevant, and that's something, for example, with pilots and military. And they used a technology like here, it's called a Vienna test system, and as you see here in the middle, where you see only a red button, it's really simple what is measured. Only do you measure, pull down or press the right button. There's a red button, a blue button, white button, and so on. That's a stressful situation, so the system goes faster and faster, but the question is, how fast are you? It's no decision and nothing, it's really simple, and only pressing the red, the blue, or the white button. And the result you see on a professional level, the fastest players are doing this in 0.5 seconds, and the slowest player doing this in 0.7 seconds. So you're asking, what is he doing? 0.2 seconds? What? I don't know, but on the field, on the pitch, 0.2 seconds and the player is away, not only 30 centimeters, 2 meters. And that shows you see that this mental information processing speed is really relevant. And if you see this then, youth players, then the question is, okay, the player's coming to Hoffenheim, he really knows how to play football, and he's good, he's talented, but he's not so fast in the head. What can we do? And so we wondered, can we train this? And we wanted to train this off the pitch, like you do it in the gymnastics or something like this, because it's not physical load if you train it in an extra environment. And so we built up what you see here, a 360-degree perception environment where you can train all these executive functions like information processing speed, or inhibition, or object tracking, or concentration, or memory as well. We train this is isolated in like games, and we put it together in, we call it here the Neo 360-degree. What is my son was playing Fortnite all the time, and I said I want to have a game for training executive function. Was this such attractive as Fortnite? And then we build up with a game player a really simple game. You are in an environment, 360-degree environment. You have teammates, these are green ones, and you have opponents, and they are pink, and you have a goal where you put within target where you put a disc in. And that's now the situation. And I have a little movie that you see it in motion. That's how it's going on. It's now without sound, but it's not relevant to the sounds. Not much sound because it should be attractive. And he's now trying to pull the disc to the, now he get it to the opponent and now to the teammate, and that's his score. And so he's really highly motivating environment, training, all the things together, tracking objects, concentration, inhibition, information processing. And one player told me, I have opponents, I have teammates, I have to shoot my disc in a target. Oh, it's like soccer, isn't it? And yes, that was the idea, that you combine all these things now in a computer game in a 360-degree environment, what's almost closest to that what's happening on the pitch. And what we've developed now is game analysis with this new information what's coming from the cameras who are tracking a game, because they're including now not only the position where the player is, they're including the skeletal data of a player. And then when you put in then an avatar on this information, you can see that this avatar is really moving as the player did before. And then you can create some special situations. I show you over here a situation from a game, that's a women game, from I think the World Championship, and you see that normal situation in the game, and once again you see how they move in a very normal way, and when you put these skeletal data now in the 360-degree environment, you see that they are moving exactly the same, because it's not only the position, that's now the skeletal data integrated as well. And you can stop it, and you can look on this game from several perspectives. You can run back, and you can switch in every perspective of each player. You do this right now in this player, then you switch in, and you can now get in the perspective of the player and get now an idea from every situation of the game, what was the perspective of the player, and perhaps how is it now to learn. And on the right side now, from the philosophy of the game, decision making, what's good or what's not good. That's pretty new. You can only see this in Hoffenheim, in a little village in the south of Germany, once in the world. But that is our philosophy. We have to be new. We always have to make new paths, because we can't do it like the big clubs. That's our philosophy of being successful, new, technology-driven, and working with artificial intelligence. And that's the last point I want to mention, putting you all together. We measure 212 KPIs from a holistic perspective. So this scanning, passing, and ball control is coming from the football out. Then we have normal, these healthy KPIs, these physiological KPIs, and the psychological KPIs. That is now for every player possible to put it in a weakness and strength profile, where we really see what is from every individual perspective now to do to make the individual next step. We don't do it like school, like doing all the same with every player. Every player has an individual profile, so every player has an individual intervention approach, and that's very time efficient, because you don't do something what's not needed one player. That's another reason why the player coming with us, because they and their parents think that's exactly what they need, what they give in here. That's an overview for our Unbroken now. It's 10 years, I think, data collection period, and we had to fight, because sometimes our coach are coming and say, I have another philosophy and I don't like measuring data, so it's now a philosophy of the whole club. And we don't allow somebody coming inside and saying, this philosophy is not good. So we have now from all our men and women teams 2 times in the year these completely 212 KPI measured. And the last point is, I can ask me now what is important in average to get it on the high level. We saw in average that really this 30-meter speed is the most important, then the skill, the football now score, but then there's already coming information processing speed. And in the 14 most important KPIs to get it on the next level, on the professional level, there are 6 psychological KPIs. And that's really impressive, especially for me as a sports psychologist. 20 years ago, they told me you don't need psychology. They shouldn't think, they should kick the ball, get away. And now we work with modern artificial intelligence software developer, and they gave us from all these mass data, the data that we need to really improve an individual talent, and we call this our migration assistant. And here I can put in the data from a player. As you see here, it's an age of 15, and the model explanation is now with all this data we have collected, how big is a probability that he will get it on the next level, and that's here by 64%. That still not explains what is needed to do the next, because you can look on your strength and weakness profile. There are several things that are not so good, and that's the question: should every KPI should on the green level? No, that's about compensation. Somebody's perhaps compensate his mental slowness with quick feet. So it's the question: what is individual needed? And And so from this migration prognosis, we can do a what-if analysis. So we have exactly the same player again, and in this what-if explanation, we could choose a KPI. Here the jumping high. And when the jumping high is now increased with 0.4 centimeters, and you have a migration prognosis where before from 58%, he will improve on this 63%, and so you really can check out the KPIs that he's not so good in, or where perhaps for the individual player already good KPI should be improved to be more, the probability is more to get it on the next level. So, for you, a little insight what we are doing here in Hoffenheim, the village in the southern of Germany. That's a model that is now proven for 17 years, and with always getting new partners, looking always in the future. Well, sometimes in soccer, too much looking in the past. What have we done when we were successful in the last 5 years? We always look in the future and try to combine technology, data, artificial intelligence, and this all is not good if you don't have a culture aspect around in the club. That it's not about the ego, it's about the talent. Talent should be this one what's in the middle, and everybody should care about not himself but the talent, and that's at the end a very, very important perspective to get all these technologies integrated in a successful model of talent development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayer. That was indeed very informative. Friends, we'll now get on with the session. I would request all the panelists to come on the stage. May I start with Mr. Kaushik Maulik. Please come. This is the moderator of the session. Mr. Veer Sagar, my chairman. Mr. K. Arvind Blumhaus. Mr. Mayer also. Mr. Dagmar, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correct, Mr. Dagmar Badstoffer. And finally, Devdas Singh. Is he here? Without losing any time, I will now hand it over to Mr. Maulik.
Good afternoon, the esteemed audience. And after the finest presentation of how technology means to the world of sports by Jan Meyer. Given a big hand to Mr. Meyer for a wonderful presentations. And I said the number 3266, decoding by Jan Meyer. Let's begin our session. We always like to talk about the technology in sports together in football and sports. So this session is primarily talking about how the technology comes into play and varies. We have a fantastic first panel, second panel, also next generation panel, we call it. Ian from the right, I think Devdas is the CEO of TCG Digital. You have already heard Jan Meyer, the CEO of Innovation of TCG Hoffenheim. Behind me, the great old man of Indian IT industry. And still, you talk about the age of plus 70. But just a number. It's 83. Oh. It's give a big hand. 83. You talk about how technology. Give a number once for this. Think about. Now, with another person with me, Kai Halls, the man who called himself a man with media. And now I will always call him. He also media innovations. He will describe how media can play an important role and technology and media together to make the game of football more beautiful. And just at the corner, the man, I always said, the man of action, the man of vision, and a man of love. He's none other than this Dead by Bastov, but fans of his friends and fans across Europe, and also now from India too, called him Didi. So I always say, Didi Ndiri. Give him a big hand for him. So I start with how the sports influence on the fields of life. I will start with this discussions with Didi also, but before Didi, the man who makes the sports of football available, the world of German football, to every nook and corner of the world, including India, none other than Kai. Kai, it's a very conversational. I want to lead. You know me, I have always wants to dialogue. It's an important part.
Yes, thank you, Kaushik, and great to be here. Great to see you all at this impressive event.
Kai, you're talking about all the time democratization of media and broadcasting and through technology. Can you briefly enlighten the audience how the technology make your audience and broadcasting field also, which is also an important part of to propagate the game of sports, love of the game, which Ian told that love of the game is more important. That's a basic point, basic trigger to give for the players. So tell me a little bit more about how the latest technology, how technology influence and technology needs to be updated to reach more and more audience.
Yes, thank you, Kaushik. Very important question and point. First of all, when I heard we'll be speaking today about technology in sport, my original instinct is, and always is, to tell to Kaushik, I'm a media rights guy. I'm not technology. But then you go deeper and you see mainly there's two areas of technology in sports. One is the technology that makes the sports better, and that's what Jan Meyer very impressively described, how you analyze all the KPIs, individual training methods, and how you really improve, how you scout. So this whole sports technology area is super important and super interesting. But that's not my area of expertise. I'm the one responsible at the German Federation to bring the game of football as it's played in the stadia in Germany and around the world when it comes to national teams and to the screens, to the TV screens and the devices around the globe. So what do we do? First of all, the technology needs to be the one that brings the moving images to the screens. This is, of course, much easier today than it was 20 years ago, where we had satellite and cable, but now we have streaming technologies. We don't only have linear broadcasting, we have wonderful apps and streaming players who make it much more easy to access the market. Plus we have social media today that brings, again, moving images very quickly, live or as live, around the globe. And technology serves not only to bring the game to the people, but also to make it better, to make it more interesting. We can use technology, like we announced in our cooperation with TCG Digital, to localize the game. We can live transmit it in various languages using artificial intelligence. There's automatic transcripts to written media articles of match reports. There's automatic subtitling. So many things that can be done, including clipping from the live game, pushing it to social media. So many things that make the game more interesting. And I think this is just the beginning. We can explore technology in ways that create new fans, reach out to new fans in the most remote areas anywhere in the world, but now we're talking about India, to try and create fans in India to then go and consume the products that we have, be it on DoorDash on Sport, be it on Waves, be it on social media, many, many different ways. So technology is here to stay in sports and will open the door to the future, to keep it interesting and to recruit future fans and show them more of the game that we love and that we work for day in, day out. Thank you.
Kai, it's wonderful. Though you're a media guy, but you're talking about media, but you are also, you love the technology to upgrade. The important thing is the need of the technology, which is enhance your reach to the audience. Thanks for your wonderful insight, and our audiences know about how the broadcasting is one of the bigger part to reach football amongst, or reach sports among the remotest corner of the part of the world, to love the sports from kids to everyone. Now from the media audience to the real field, and which is the media can capture, the man who I have been sitting with us, Didi Weishofer. He's a player, he played for the German national team, the Bundesliga, the two-time owner of the Pokal, and now he transformed into football administrations. So Didi, my question to you, how you felt I always struck a mind when you're in the football, and you're just before your football, and now you're in football, a senior administrator. How you felt that, how do you have seen the transition of emotion converting to technology, and technology supplement or complement to emotions? Ball is a code.
Yes. Thank you very much. Also from my side, very proud to be here and have the chance to talk to you and to give my experiences in sports. Yes, I played in Bundesliga, and then I studied and so went as an administrational guy. Kai is a media guy, and I was then a sports administrational guy into different clubs in Germany and in Europe. And yes, you are right, Koshik, there's a big difference. When I went from a small village to Hamburg as a player in 1986, so we had 2 or 3 coaches maximum, so a goalie coach and the head coach and the co-coach and assistant coach. The Ernst Happel, maybe somebody knows him because he was a forerunner of tactics and a great coach. But we had a few things to do. But normally we trained as we go out and take the ball and played and made a few tactical situations. And now it's totally different by the time. So the sports is more athletical, it's more tactical driven. It's incredible difference from 20 or 30 years ago, and everything, or most of the things are basing on data and analysis, which now in the staffs of the coaches. Also, we already have 2 analysts trying to divide the match and to see how we did, where we should hurt the opponent in the match, and this is totally different. And also GPS, for example, athleticism, what Jan already said, you can measure every meter in what intensity, in what velocity the player ran, and it's incredible. But I need to say that I think this was the first question, I think, also from you, Koshik. So it's needed a little bit both. So I'm maybe a sports romantic because we still need the passion to play football, the love to play football, especially in the grassroots, when we try to bring the kids, the boys and the girls on the pitch to train, to play, to have joy, to have fun, and especially then afterwards also believe the technological thing. We also need to keep them into the system, because we have with 12, 13, 14 there are a higher number of dropouts also in Germany. It's not that we don't fight for the German kids. And so our intention is to bring also, to help, to support, to develop football in India, because we think, it's not me alone, it's everybody thinking here on the panel, that there is such a huge potential in this country with all the young people and all. I think there are a few hundred millions in love with sports also, and it's also an education from the beginning, and we try to enhance the passion for football, because at the beginning there is the passion, and then it comes also the curriculum, the professionality, and so we are there to support what we can do. For example, our club, FC Ingolstadt, is a smaller club in southern Germany, in the near of Munich. We already played in the first Bundesliga, not yet at the moment, but we will make a project with young Indian boys and girls, hosting them on our infrastructure, on our pitches, making camps with them, making training sessions with them, with the boys and girls who are living in Germany with their parents. And so we are happy to start there, make the first step, having a big belt or a big connection to India, and trying to enhance the passion and the love for football also in this beautiful country.
Thank you, Didi, for your nice words. Romanticism meets innovation. All right? Yeah? Romanticism sometimes trigger you for a better technology. You agree or not?
Yes, of course, we need it on the pitch. That's the reason why the fans are going to the stadium, why they're looking perhaps on the TV what's broadcasted, and so we call it sometimes emotional intelligence. When do we need to be really rational and strategic and not with so much emotions working on, and when is the time that emotion has to be shown and have to be in the room and in the stadium? And I think it's a question of time when we one of the things and one the other.
Great. So there was the romanticism and the technology, of course, gels together. When you create something new, don't you believe that romanticism and technology can vary? Any view out from the audience? We are romantic. You know, any scientist has a romance. Romance with his idea. Romance of persuasion is also romance. Do you believe it or not? I am a little deaf man. Great, yes, only yes. Let a few more yes. Looks more me a romantic. Don't you still believe it? It's also meaning. Emotion is important in life to develop technology too. Great, thank you. So now we are talking about football, romanticism, India, and what's more to talk about? Without the romance, without the technology, with the game, without cricket. So now a man with another romantic person at the age of 83, and standing whole of a career for a hardcore technologist to become his next venture, of course, a little bit romantic venture on cricket. And Visakji, now we should talk about how your cricketing romance with technology, a short comment.
Swadesh, thank you very much. Actually, I do believe that romanticism leads to innovation. I run a back office in India, which does medical records review for the US. And we've been doing this now for almost 27 years. Every 4 or 5 years, we would sit back and say, okay, where are we leading? Because you don't know where competition is coming from where technology will hit us. And so every couple of years, we reposition it, use the latest technology and drive on it. Couple of years back, we could not think of where can we go next using this same customer base on technology. So we said, let's do something which will withstand technology. Very strange, your subject is technology today, but withstand technology, but will use technology to grow, and that's games. And when we talked about games, we didn't mean playing with the 360 degrees sports, with a mouse. We actually said, go into the field and play. So in India, once you say play, it's cricket. So we designed a game of cricket initially to play with dice, which all my team thought was stupid, and it got discarded. So we kept thinking and we kept thinking. Then we realized coaching is a big thing. So we designed a system using technology for remote coaching. That means the player and the coach don't have to be on the same spot. Once we got this technology done, the next thing we said is, why don't we give the coach all the tools to coach the player? So we gave him an app on which the player's game can be recorded. When he's practicing on the app, the game gets recorded. The coach then goes on the calendar, picks a time suitable to him and the player, and says, okay, at this date, this time, let's get on the net. So they both come on the CRICONET app, and the recording is played in the back, and the coach and the player have a one-to-one. So he's actually able to show him what he is doing wrong and what he should be doing. This is again recorded so that the player goes back and sees this. And along with this, we've got all those fast forward, slow down, all that kind of stuff. This is great, except that not too many people want to do this. They want to play cricket and they want to play professional cricket, but they want to take shortcuts. So we kept thinking, how do we attract people to come in? How do we then get money flowing into this coaching? Because this became very restrictive. Not anyone and not everywhere would afford the coaching. So we said, let's look at games as a source of job creation. Very strange. When I started playing, in my college days, as soon as I finished my graduation, my mother told me, okay, you now better take life seriously. You cannot play cricket anymore. Better start concentrate on your studies because you need a job. So if you cannot afford to live on your own, right? You needed money to live, then you cannot play games. So you needed to do something else and then play games in addition. That was okay. So till IPL came in, and then it showed what money means and cricket. So now, therefore, a whole new thing has come up. How do we give money to the system? So we said, let's now an average. Then people said, oh, for IPL means only when you're the really top, you make money. There's not enough room for the rest. If you sit down and analyze today, there is money to make a living for an average player if he's playing, does nothing else but plays cricket for the state.
You're talking right about it. It's right to talk about the technology brings talent out and give you the pathway to carry.
So now we said, okay, there are 38 states which play 5 tournaments a year. And in each tournament, even if they're the worst team, they will play 6 matches. If they're good and they keep winning, okay, they'll play more, but minimum 6 matches. So if you take this, and for each match, the player gets 40,000 to 60,000 rupees. So an average guy playing for one of those states can make 6 lakh rupees, 50,000 rupees per month, which is more than the median salary for most people. So the myth got broken now, or we're trying to break the myth saying you need to be only playing test cricket or IPL to make money. You just play at the slow level. Then see what happens. Technology makes live telecasts. In fact, just to tell you, the app that we have that does live telecast of cricket is actually telecasting this seminar. So you can see your seminar yourself, your friends can see you anywhere in the world on my CRICONET app. So just download the app from the store, app store, and you can see the whole entire proceeding. So once we said, okay, look, if you are able to catch people everywhere, every city now has got its own league. there are about 18 leagues in India and 14 countries have their own league. This is normal white ball cricket. Then now the new thing that's come up is called tennis ball cricket. And less number of overs. So there's another 20, 30 of. So there are so many games happening.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Rob. There's so many things happening in cricket, and what a wonderful things you've made it. You're talking about how technology.
So now I'm coming to technology.
Yeah.
I set the stage. Now the technology is okay. Now what do you do with technology? I saw that lovely presentation by John Myers on training on football. We don't give anything on training. We tell the coach, okay, how do you find a good potential? In this huge country, to finding potential is difficult, especially in smaller towns. So we said, let's have live telecast of club cricket. 2 cameras, bottom end, absolute bottom end. 2 cameras, one which is fixed above the screen one side and one which does ball tracking. So you have 2 cameras, method for scoring, method for giving commentary, right? And then of course technology to do the telecasting, to catch highlights, to do all kinds of things. So we started with that. Similarly, you have with academies where you have people playing, you record their games, and then we now create a database. There, can you see? So if you see the screen there, you create a database of people playing, and then use technology to analyze the database so that you are able to extract relevant information. Then what happens now? Then people who are not able to go to small towns to see cricket matches, most talent scouts don't have the time or this thing to go around and see all the matches being played everywhere. It's a vast country and a lot of cricket being played everywhere. They watch these club cricket on my CRICONET app, or alternately, they go to my database and select and say, look, I'm looking for this kind of players. So what we are now doing is creating a national talent pool, talent database, where talent scouts can look for and find teams for training. These are then picked up to send to better academies, higher academies, more academies for training and coaching. This is where we're using technology, bringing this out so that people can be identified. People can be identified for training using technology. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
if you want, you can have a look there. I don't know if it's visible, but basically it says there's a player, there's an academy, there is a match, all the data is collected here, the player's database is created, and then talent scout analysis, talent scouts can see, and you can take teams. And today there are, as I said, 14 or 18 countries who are having league matches, including the US.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. And what you're talking about, it's a romanticism of 83 years beyond. And 83 is also very significant for cricket. 1983, we have a first World Cup winner. So 83 matching to another technological revolution. When I talk about the technology, now we talk about cricket, we talk about the football, we talk about the broadcasting, and now we are talking about how broadcasting, talent identification, make it enabler. Like we talked to the guy, we have to also think about Devashish. Devdas is also a great romanticism on sports, and his emotional quotient works when you talk about the sports thing. And Devdas, you have created a cooperation with TFP to identify talent. One side also you have enabled us the broadcasting technology to reach more people with the fun. So, what is your instinct to be technology? You're in technology for the whole of your life. You're leading of the largest technical company. Now, what makes you the sports technology to enable to get more technical revolutions?
Thanks, Kaushik. First of all, thanks to India Soft for inviting me on this stage. It's a beautiful conference. Lovely to be here. We were just talking about what we are doing in cricket. And I come from a technology background, a technology company. And we want to be technology romantics, since romance is in the air, so maybe I should use that word. But what we do is we try to use technology, and when we say technology, we're talking about artificial intelligence technology, doing video analytics using convolutional neural networks, or communication technology using Fourier transforms, or data technologies, or data management concepts. Now, we bring all of these together to catalyze the spread of the game. Can the game reach more people? Can the game reach more people in their language? Can the game reach more people in their language in real time, live? So that's one piece of technology. Another piece of technology is, Didi was talking about finding players in India who can then be coached and managed by Ingolstadt. That's an outstanding vision that he has. India needs to get onto the rankings of world football. I mean, we don't have a good ranking, we all know that. Now, that's a vision Didi has put forward. Now, how do we get the right set of 20 players, 50 players to get in front of the coaches that Didi will identify? Can we look at 1 million players? Can we look at 100,000, 200,000 players? Do we do that? We use technology there again. I mean, India is highly digitally mobile, right? So, can somebody upload a video? Can that video get analyzed? Get some kind of a score? Jan was talking about being able to benchmark based on the 200 KPIs. Maybe not 200 KPIs can be understood from a video, but maybe 25 could be. But it helps narrow down hundreds of thousands of potential talent to the 20, to the 200 that coaches would take a look at, and then the 5 would go to Ingolstadt or Hoffenheim to get trained. So, to be able to use different types of technologies, I talked about communication, I talked about data management, I talked about AI, in conjunction to move forward with our game, to take the beautiful game to more people, to improve the quality of the game. As Jan was talking about, the game has become much, much faster. So all of this being catalyzed by a lot of tech that we bring in from TCP Digital.
Yeah, Indrash, you talk about fantastic combination of enabling technology into romanticism, emotions. You need to have a branch out with us. Thanks, Indrash, for our wonderful insights, how technology mingles with emotions, and today has talked about romanticism. So now we have, this is a fantastic panel we have infused with us. In the first section of panels, all the Devdas, young, Isaroti, 83-year-old young man, Kai, and Didi. Thanks to all of them to give us a great insight how sports can enable life, how technology can enable sports, and also our vision. India is always known for the clapping nations, but the next step for India should be clapping nation to playing nation. Thanks for all, and waiting for the next sessions. Give a big hand to them.
Then let's move down please. The next set of yeah, in fact, only half the number of panelists are here right now, other half can join. Mr. Devdas, you are not going. Session is still not over. Yeah. Session is still not over.
because we have so many distinguished panel with us, so we divided in two parts. We take a good picture of all together. So we broke into two parts.
I request Mr. Jonas Graffinger, Head of Performance as well as Upper Austrian Football Association. Is he here?
Welcome, Jon.
Mr. Fabian Frederick Welt, Head of International Business Development, TSG Football, GmbH. I'm sorry I'm not able to pronounce the names correctly. Mr. Carl Monteiro, Director Marketing and Sponsorship, TSG Hoffenheim. Mr. Matthew Joseph, Mr. Joseph is CEO of Super League.
Manuel Schaff. Yeah, Manuel Schaff from FC Goldstein.
Sir, please sit.
Yeah, thank you. We have just started our next second half of the panel. And with us, to the right side, romanticism of Johann Scribner. He's a sports scientist who to talk about how sports science, how this sports technology comes in the picture. I start with the romanticism of Kerala. What you felt that when you start your footballing, you have been a long time in football, what do you think about Super League Kerala as a jumping boat for the talent identification talk about? How will you start a league as a league, owning the league or promoting the league? Do you any
event? So we actually started this initiative. There's more than about 60,000 players in Kerala alone who are registered with the All India Football Federation to be players. They are, the license holders to play. But there was a huge gap between the grassroots and to reach somewhere on the national or an international platform. So after we spent some time on the grassroots, that's when we started the league. But when we started the league, we realized that there's a big gap. Even although there's a lot of technology, but then how does someone even get to a league, or how does someone? It's like a student passing out. Although there's so much of portals available on the Googles to everything, but he may not know which direction to go in. So same way for in which way they can lead to what is the kind of a thing. So this is what we are trying to do now. It's become more of an aspirational league, although we run a very successful and professional league called the Super League Kerala. But what we are trying to do is always connect down to the grassroots, give them the opportunity, developing platforms for them so that right from basics or with DD, so we are looking at associations like them because these are countries and clubs which have over a period of time evolved and the technology has been there. So along with that, obviously the biggest challenge after that was the broadcaster. So that's something which you also fixed. It's like in our country itself, so many languages spoken and big football pockets are there. So unless we are able to offer them those kind of solutions, just to put in money and just to have many commentaries going on is Disney. But then how do you address all these markets or the states? So with this kind of a technology, it definitely helps us. Cuts the cost drastically.
Yes, great. Matthew is talking about the league. It's a nice what he said, the League for Aspiration initiative to get Indian football to the next level, Matthew. Now I come to the point which is talk about the marketing administration. I will leave it a little bit on Carl Montero. He's the responsible sponsorship and marketing stuff. So, Carl, we have to think about how this technology sports in terms of communication, in terms of develop the game, how the technology influence your way you're procuring the sponsorship deals on more commercials.
So yeah, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for inviting me. So we have the media guy, we have the sports guy, now the marketing guy. So
who can take advantage of it to the next level?
yeah, so for us in marketing, and that's not new to you, we use a lot of data. So we have to understand our target groups. We have to understand their behavior. So we use actually quite normally a big amount of data, which we in sports. I don't know, quite common that we collect a lot of data, but we somehow don't use it in a way that because as Jan said, we test, not guess, which is quite important. So this side is new for us in our commercial storytelling because it gives a new angle, so I can work together with IT companies in a more deeper way. So IT company and our main sponsor is SAP helps us really to understand and decode sporting data, and we can leverage this sporting data and we can also tell a story on that. So that helps us, of course, besides all the stories we have, besides the sporting world, it's like, we sell LED boards, we do merchandising, so we do basically everything what everybody else does. And as Jan explained, we are a very small club in size of population, but we are actually a very big club because we have to work smarter, we have to have a different approach, and that is something we try to commercialize as well.
Yeah, great. You're talking about a nice story, but also technological way of sponsoring the whole day of the match. A little bit both. These are all technologies. Technologies don't confine to only of the level players. It's also opportunities to grow more and more. It's a holistic way to develop the whole sport and the ecosystem. Now, and you must have the Austria. When you come to Germany, and Austria is going in football in a big way. So we are lucky with us now. Jan Skeffler, who as a sports scientist with involving with the sports technology and science for develop the Austrian football, going to be a new powerhouse of international football. Jan, what is your secret?
Well, our secret is probably we actually don't have the necessary funds like the DFB or Hoffenheim, for example, does. So it is very important for us to find the perfect sweet spot between the facility and what we can invest and what we get out of it. So we really have to look at which tests are easily doable for our players and what we can get from these tests to really develop them perfectly. So it is just a small path that we have to take in order to develop our players perfectly and still get them to the level that many Austrian players now actually have. They play in a lot of big German clubs, some Premier League clubs as well. So we have done that very well in the past, but it is really hard. Jan already told us that 30-meter sprint, for example, is one very, very important factor. So we really focus on the few absolutely important tests that are easily doable, that don't cost too much, and where we don't need the big facilities because we simply don't have that amount of money, which is probably a good way for India to start as well, to not invest too much and then have data that we can't work with at the very start, but only do the necessary tests so that you can still having resources for other projects as well.
Yeah, just one question of mine always. Your very structured approach, for example, you're very successful outreach between developing players and selling to the world. It's a classic example of this use technology. And what do you mean the structure of fun? Important is innovation. What Jan said about this 3266, the only site. Recipe of success, I'm not doing the funds. What's the basic recipe of the success you suggest to develop in football? Here, Super League, the Aspirin League, a newborn league, we call it, because also Australia comes up with a it's also going to be a giant. Already have to switch the market and less euro, and you're last to need to do one. So follow that technology.
Well, we already heard that the best way to develop talent is to really choose what you do with them individually. You can't just do one thing with everybody, because that won't work out. Everybody needs something different. Some players have some limitations in some aspects, while they could be great in another aspect. So these tests just help you. The innovation is really necessary to make sure you know where you can develop players and where it is unnecessary to invest resources, which are obviously limited. It is really, really important to choose the right things to do, to adapt the training on that part, and then if you have the individual players, you can then start to look at different places where maybe it is a little harder to get the absolute best out of.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, you want to talk about the right directions and talk about a more strategic approach to develop from the basics to the upscales. Thank you for your nice insight and guidance to how to develop sports technology and football technology to legalize Super League Kerala and other aspirant leagues or aspirant club to be there. Now I come to the point to Fabian. Fabian, you have a very good, you have seen for your childhood the club in life, the club in your heart. And when you come back in the club to make a bigger international way. So what is your think about your talk? What is your feel that the technology, how technology make as a brand to the international world of communications, because you're having the international position?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I've been in the position of young talents, where you're pretty good in what you're doing, you're pretty good at cricket, you're pretty good at football, and then all of a sudden you get the opportunity to transfer to a bigger club, right? And then typically you have like 3 different routes that you can go. One would be, I go to this huge club in a big city where everyone knows, but typically you don't have, if you look in all of these different youth levels, including the professionals, you typically don't have that transition rate in making it all the way pros at the club. Then you have other, let's say, one level below clubs who have a great transition rate into making it into their first division team, but you maybe have some doubts in how good the talent development process is. And then Hoffenheim try to differentiate themselves from it. They try to provide them with a validated methodology to making it to the highest level possible for the individual athlete. And that's what was so exciting to me, because I've been an academy player at Hoffenheim for 6 years, I think. I didn't make it to the pro. Now if I look back at my data, which Jan gave me access to, I know why I didn't make it to the pros. But what's really crucial here is it's a validated model, because we're doing this since almost 16 years now. First of all, the first years you're using in building your methodology within the club, but then we're gathering data for almost a decade. And now we can, since we produce so many professional athletes, we can now basically look at someone who is 14, 15 years old, look at their data with all of the 212 KPIs, and we get a pretty good understanding if he's making it to the pros, because we have benchmarks and relevant KPIs that they need to hit on their position to make it to the next level.
Great, and I think you're a fantastic insight of you grew up with the club and also now ambassador of the club to the world. And now I just come to Manuel, just a few last sentence from your end. You now have a chance to develop Indian diaspora kids to your club with your technology. Give your few words how you felt and how this can be developed.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we have different approaches. For example, for grassroots football, we have a very huge soccer school in Germany which trains about 10,000 kids. And besides that, we have the academy where we develop the talented kids who will have the chance to go to the pro team. So these two projects, or these two different approaches, we can bring to India. So one step is grassroots, and grassroots means reaching many people, many kids. and then selecting from these kids the best to go to academies.
Yeah.
This is something we can bring to
And
India.
also you talk about the video tutorials, which
Yes.
can be a great idea.
Yes, and for all of these grassroots kids, we can create videos from our coaches in Germany where the kids can learn the movements, different passing techniques, and so on. And with AI, they can upload the video, and AI can rate their score, like how good they are performing it, and they give them feedback, and so they can continuously move on. And also, we have the chance to see their talent and bring them to academies in India.
And also for Indian guys, what you talk about. Indian guys for the kids is going to study from. So I think now is a fantastic your approach to get the technology to the mass, to be easy to upload, and then the back-end technology. So this is a fantastic subject we're talking about, the level of technology to the sports arena across the world, not only India. Sports is a global phenomenon. So it's our pleasure to have today's discussion and panelists. One thing we can sum up. Sports technology is also a sport intelligence. It comes up with emotions. Thank you for our panelists for a wonderful session, and thank you for the audience for hearing us. Give a big hand.
Thank you, Mr. Malek. May I request all the panelists to please come down, and also the earlier ones who were with us earlier, please come. Please come. We will start with Mr. Kaushik Maulik, the moderator of the session and the architect of the session. Yes, please go ahead. Give it to Mr. Kaushik Maulik. Mr. Jain Mahar. Mr. Jain Mahar. Mr. K. Domholz. May I say Mr. Dini? Mr. John Graffinger. Mr. Matthew Joseph. Mr. Fabian Red. Mr. Carl Montero. And Mr. Manuel. I hope I have not missed out on anyone. I hope I have not missed out on anyone. Friends, we'll now get on with our next session. That's a special session with global investors. This one is a special session with global investors. And I request all the panelists to please come on the stage. May I start with Ms. Neha Sharma. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Mr. Shivam Subhash. Friends, Neha is the moderator of this session and I have not used any time. Oh, Ajay, sorry, my apologies. Neha, it's over to you. Sorry, we are already running late.
Hello? Yes. I'm audible to everybody, I believe, after the fantastic session on sports, which is very, very filled with energy. I think there's no dearth of energy in this panel discussion, I believe, yes? Are we high on energy, all of us? It's an interesting session, as you can see the eminent guest on the dais. And so it's my pleasure to be here to moderate this session and being a part of this panel discussion with such eminent and esteemed panelists. I represent Accelerate India. I'm Dr. Neha Sharma. Under Accelerate India, we drive innovation, entrepreneurship and globalization. This is very, very timely that we are talking about globalization, because without globalization, we cannot see the change at the global economy. So right now, under Accelerate India, we help startups, businesses to scale in the global market. They scale in the format of either to raise funds from the global investors, to connect in terms of getting better technologies, because there's no need to reinvent the wheels. Rather, we need to actually innovate and bring the innovation for our use. So under this, without much ado, I would like to start today's panel discussion, which is on global investments and its relevance for the business growth. So when we talk about global globalization, when we talk about scale, we cannot ignore startups. Startups are very, very important because they have high potential to scale, not only in their regional premises, but also cross borders. So my first question goes to Kambis, if I can see Kambis. Before that, I would like to introduce everybody. We have the Trade Commissioner, Mr. Hens, with us. He's a Austrian Trade Commission and a commercial counselor at Austrian Embassy in India. We have Muscat, she's from Oman. We have Mr. Kambis, he's a head of startup services, Austrian Federal Economic Chamber, Austria. Last but not the least, of course not the least, he's Mr. Ajay Singh, Head of Technology and Innovation at Austrian Embassy, Commercial Section, India. So I'm coming back to my previous question to Kambis. Kambis, scalability cannot happen because startups are, very prominent structure when we talk about scalability. I would like to understand from you, where do you see the current trend is going in globalization of startups, and what are those prominent sectors which is getting the high impact through globalization?
Yeah, thank you very much, Nia. Thank you for joining this wonderful panel with these wonderful speakers. But still, it's growing, so I will give you some numbers on this. If you compare the growth in venture capital investments country by country, since 2018 to 2024, then Austria comes number 4 worldwide in terms of growth. First is Switzerland, then you have Singapore, then you have UAE, and then you have Austria in terms of growth. Now some current trends we can see. First, years ago, investors would only invest into startups with founding teams. But what I can tell you is that we see more and more solo-founded companies, startups, actually doubling almost in terms of the number of startups with just one solo founder. And still, VC investors are not decreasing the investment in this kind of startups. Actually, it's growing. Small, around 3-4%, but it's growing. So that's one trend we can see. Second, I will give a bold actually prediction. I think we're not so far away from seeing the first startup with just one person, one employee in the near future that reaches a unicorn status. And why? Because of AI. So startups, companies, founders use AI to develop the product, to streamline the processes, to scale the businesses. And we can already see more and more startups with the few amount of employees, around 15 to 20 employees that already reach a lot of revenue, high valuations, and in the next couple of years, I believe we will see the first company actually built by one founder only that actually reaches this kind of status. And maybe further on, we can also see maybe a startup founded by an AI that actually reaches this amount. So very interesting times ahead. Apart from that, we see for sure a lot of development in AI, but also in quantum computing. That's one of the next big technologies that we can see. Where Austria, in the city of Innsbruck and Vienna, is very strong when it comes to research. We see a lot of development in this region here, in India, but also in GCC, a lot of growth, a lot of talents that are coming back, attracting, these countries are attracting these talents again. And I still believe that collaboration will be one key factor for growing your business. So not just focusing on your own country, on your own region, but working, collaborating with other regions as well. Just to sum it up.
Thank you very much. A similar question with a different tweet to Jacqueline. Jacqueline, for me, the kind of understanding I have about Jacqueline, she's a global citizen, I believe. She has been all over. So with your experience and expertise, Jacqueline, we would like to understand from you, where do you see the businesses are actually going in this current scenario and the changes required? How do you perceive the global investments right now? And where do you see the changes needed? A crisp and a brief understanding from your side.
I think this works better, yeah. So I would say, you know, it's interesting because I come from a finance background. So I worked in London, I worked in Asia, Hong Kong, starting my kind of grounding of investment at asset management level, so larger scale-ups to IPO acquisition, and now I'm really focused on the early stage startup space. And what I'm seeing kind of across the, specifically in Europe, is the difficulty in raising funds. And we're very lucky in Austria. I mean, I think we mentioned this is one of the kind of forte things that have been developed there is the grant system. You know, it's very supporting the early stage innovation, and it's fundamental to building this pipeline that then we can scale both in Europe and then US and potentially global. But the investment case, it's difficult. It's hard to raise money from the VC space. It's hard for them to find, you know, it's very competitive deal flow. They're competing against, you know, it's a very convoluted market. And so for startups, it's about getting early traction. It's about getting validation as quickly as possible. That's why we run incubators and accelerators like Founder Institute. Our rate of participation goes down drastically throughout the program because this product market fit is fundamental, and they fail quickly and understand they have to pivot, or they, you know, sadly have to track out of the program. So it's a very tough environment right now to raise money. And I was talking a little bit to, you know, a macro expert earlier yesterday, and he was talking about the liquidity in the market and how the understanding that the stock market, you know, really impacts how VCs raise money, the risk aversity of capital going into startups, and the importance of this continuous flow into the startup space. So with, you know, US going kind of looking more inwards, with European having you know, different challenges on the horizon, it's very important for this collaboration between Europe and Asia, even more so. And this Indian-Austrian startup bridge is fundamental to not only supporting startups, but increasing capital across borders.
Thank you very much for bringing this insight, actually. I would like to come now to Mr. Hans, and maybe if Ajay would like to join in that, because we have seen immense, you know, action between Austria and India. I mean, in previous 1 or 2 years, we have seen immense action is happening. We are talking more in terms of collaboration. We have created the startup bridge as well. So we would like to understand from you, Mr. Hans, that where do you find the trade is actually requiring more attention, and how do you position Austria for Indians in order to see Austria for their expansion, and how do you want to define for Austrian businesses the opportunities in India? Over to you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I must say, of course, from the Indian point of view, from the ecosystem, Austria is not on the map as a startup country. So we developed a strategy 5 years ago. In the last 4 years, we got a clear structure. We developed Austria. We brought 4 startup delegations from India to Austria. I see our friends from Kerala there. We brought them even to the mountains of Innsbruck, to the innovation startup event in Innsbruck. We brought them to Vienna, we brought them to Salzburg, we brought them to Styria. So why are we doing that? The Indian startup system here, I must say, more or less the scale-ups, they are focused on English-speaking countries. So we want to promote Austria as a hub for the German-speaking market. And one must understand, you think European Union is not a common market. It's a common market in the sense of bureaucracy, in the sense of import duties and so on, so when you product that's there. But it's a very diversified market. There are different cultures. In the German-speaking market, and it's not only language, you must understand the cultures. If you want to export your product, you must adapt in your technology to the culture there. And the German-speaking market is the largest with the European Union. It's 100 million. And as we discussed before, Austria is really interesting hub for the German-speaking market. So you get a lot of incentives. Maybe I mean, not an expert on startups, but you won't get the big financing, but you get a lot, how they call it, seed funding. You get a lot of support from the government. They told me that you just present an excellent business plan, immediately you get 150,000 euros. And it's there. Then, for example, Austrian Trade Commission, we are part of a village Austria. We have 100 offices all over the world. So you get access to that network. So you really get support there. And as I said, and connect and use it as a hub. Second one, you're right. Typically, we export all type of machinery. We are working in tech areas, in niche areas, and you're not so famous in the startup. What we want to connect. And one must understand, Austria, we are a relatively small country, just 9 million inhabitants, and we're not a big investor country. We don't have big multinationals, but we have a full range of Austrian SMEs, small and middle-range companies, and since the times of independence of India, we have been a reliable technology provider. And this is changing now, because, for example, last week, we had a delegation of the automotive industry. They have been the suppliers, but they are not suppliers in that way that they manufacture parts. Most of them have been in technology, in sensitive, in sensors, in data analysis, in testing equipment. And this combination, and they're worldwide experts there. And all our companies, our top companies, exporters, we call it hidden champions, many of them belong to the top 3, top 5 in the world with their technology. So we have old age knowledge picked up over generations and combining that with the Indian ecosystem. Yeah. I think this is the clue, because nowadays when you see a car, it's not only manufacturing, it's a lot of data behind, data analysis, metadata. And there is a good combination, doing that, combining. And then on that we're working, and our job is relatively easily, we say, bringing the right people together with right technology. But then if you see hundreds of thousands of startups here, how to find them? So we work together, and Ajay Singh is our technology officer. We only have 13 in our network all over the world. It shows the importance of India. I must say I'm very proud as Trade Commissioner. We have for the first time in India soft 18 companies participating. And as I said, it's been promoted itself, and I think for all young Indian startups here, could be interesting partner. We are very strong in sectors like automotive, in all kind of technologies. And one topic I also would like to mention is we call it GCC, a Global Capability Center. It's becoming more and more important using Indian talent pool, and we get more Austrian companies using India, building within their own network, setups, for development, for, let's say, software for machinery, machine software, so specialized software. Right? And it's not always Bangalore, there are specialists.
Fantastic. I mean, it's the known fact that Austrians do bring a lot of, heavy machinery. They have the expertise and, heavy machinery. They have the expertise and the capabilities. And even for the Indian companies right now, the kind of work India is putting, the kind of efforts India is putting for startup.
Already on step 3. So we already supported, including Neha, to Austria under our Vienna Startup Delegation 2024, and we had a barrier or the market entry where Austrian innovation, Austrian startups, technology is highlighted in India's major premier events. Also, we have already supported from Indian side all 176 entrepreneurs over. We talk now, we are already there. We have, you see, your panel is also kind of hijacked with Austria. So you see the potential now, right? So we are, in terms of collaboration with India and Austria, we have India-Austria Startup Race launched during the visit of Austrian Federal Minister Martin Kocher. Immediately after that, we had VNR 24, which you were also part of it. 55 Indian startups under the delegation. And many of the Indian startups, they were not just participating, they won pitch competition, they won awards, including you. You were also one of the speakers at Tech Job Fair. And we have wonderful support system. Again, I would reiterate, it's not, of course, it's bilateral, so we also had Austrian startup participating in Bangalore Tech Summit. Austrian Trade Commissioner is a speaker at Huddle. Kambiz here is also a speaker at Huddle, Kerala. So back and forth, we have a lot of collaboration going on. As the new development in the deep tech sector that might be interesting for the startups, so we have started this year Jain Global Incubator Network. We are supporting 7 startups from India selected under this. They are fully funded, supported for 1 month of incubation, office space, flight hotel, of course, but the mentorship and the soft launch in Austrian market. So back and forth, again and again, we are also doing this bilateral. So you see 18 Austrian companies here, 7 going to Vienna Hub, and of course, Vienna Hub, other Kerala may be joining in very soon. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much. Because that's what I was saying, that we have seen a lot of actions with Austria so far in the last 2-3 years. Still, I will take another Austrian in perspective, and then I will jump to the GCC understanding. So, since we are talking, my question from Ajay was also the same, that how you think India can also be a prospective, bringing Indians and taking Indians outside for global collaborations, that's one part. Bringing Austrians also, or maybe the global companies to India for different parts. There is, when Indians would like to expand, the expansion strategy for Indian businesses. Because you come from the compliances background. I would like to understand from you, what are those things that we need to keep in mind? What is the suggestion for the businesses who are looking forward to expand in the European region? Maybe Austria can be the gateway to that. But in general, because we have seen Europe is not that simple market to crack. Especially for Indians, probably. I may be wrong. I would like to get the statistics from you and would like to know more, because this is absolutely important. Whatever efforts we are doing, we just need to see the results. That's what Accent India would like to understand from you. Where are the gaps?
Thank you, Neha. First of all, I would disagree. But before I answer the question, please, because we have so many companies from Austria, I would just like to give them a background to the Indian market, why India is so interesting at the moment. We have around 8 to 10 companies participating in this event from Austria. And I would go back to one of my favorite books called Factfulness, and there the new postal code for the world was described. Taking the world map from left to right, you have a population in total of 7 billion. And if you go from left to right, you will see that Asia has a population of 4 billion. So every logical entrepreneur cannot ignore this market. It is impossible. One of the companies we advise is present in this delegation. They want to crack a revenue of 100 million. And I spoke to the CEO our first meeting, and he mentioned 100 million, that is only possible in the Indian market. Can we do something? So, yes. So this is how interesting the Indian market is. Having said that, I don't think that the compliances or the legal structure is very complex. In the EU, by EU I mean the individual member states of the European Union. Of course, we are all based in Austria, but it requires more than that. It requires a market entry plan, a strategic plan, how financially and legally to enter the market. And for that, you need to have the core understanding of the legal system of European Union as a whole. And why I'm saying that is you cannot individually just see the legal system of Austria or Germany or take any EU member state, because we have certain legal areas such as the data protection or consumer protection, which is harmonized within the European Union. So the base for the legal structure is set by the European Union, and the individual member states, they have to implement in their national law. Yeah? So this is, I think, a very fundamental thing to understand when you enter the European market. Other than that, when you have done your homework, you understand. To give you an example, I was advising a Bombay Stock Exchange company last year, and they came to Austria and they wanted to, merge with 5 or 6 Austrian startups, companies. And when I described the regulatory process to them, and they said, "How long will it take?" I said, 5 years. And they said, "Oh, we can do that in 6 months in India. Let's take the company to India." So this is what I mean. If you have the information, and this is what Mr. Yatnagel and Kambis also mentioned before, we have very good authorities in Austria and also presenting locally in Delhi, where Indian companies get, or Indian startups can get a lot of information before you enter the market. And therefore you will be very well equipped also how to set up the legal structure, how the taxes are, how the compliances are. Once you have the information, you are well prepared to enter the European market. And one more thing to Austria, being an Austrian, but more than being an Austrian, I think Austria is a very attractive place to start your business and enter the European market. It's a small country, yes, but it provides you access to most of the Eastern European countries. And as Mr. Yatnagel mentioned, also to the biggest market in Germany. Going straight as a startup or as an entrepreneur from India to Germany, to France, or other major countries within the European Union, I would say it's not cost effective and it's very complex. So you enter the market from Austria, and from there you get access to all the countries. This would be my advice.
Thank you very much for this insight, Shiva, because the perception that Indian companies do have before they enter to Europe is like it's a barrier, and they might get, maybe, I mean, there are multiple issues, maybe the visas are the issues, and to understand there are language barriers. So they prefer, definitely what Mr. Hans was saying, that they prefer English-speaking, countries more than the specific, language. But thank you very much for bringing this up, because I completely agree. Europe is absolutely a very strategic option, and Austria becomes a very prominent location because it's centrally located. It can be a gateway to the Europe. So a lot we have discussed about Europe. Now I would like to come to GCC, and one person, and she's doing amazing work in Oman. She's heading the Metro Muscat. It's a B2B platform, and she has amazingly done things on that platform, and she has the higher vision to scale further. Dr. Shinona, with you I want to understand, because for us, in general layman's understanding, GCC is something which is like Dubai, Saudi. The entire focus remains majorly in these regions. You come from a very different region, which is Oman. For India, it has been a strategic location for so long. We would like to understand from you, because you're a practitioner, you have identified something which is long due. Would like to understand from you the challenges and the opportunities that this region, your region, Oman, in GCC is bringing. Not only for you yourself, but also for out there, the Indians, the Europeans, who all are sitting here. Would like to know more about that region.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for this session. It's full of Austrian. Okay, I'm Dr. Shinoda, leading the e-commerce in GCC country. Before I go to anywhere, as she said, so many people, they know GCC as Dubai and Saudi Arabia. I want you to know that Oman is a strategic country that is connecting for many countries, and lately in 2000 we have made a lot of relation with different countries like USA, China, like Yemen, like Korea, to getting trade with free tax. 4th century, we can say that. We have been dealing together for many things. Almost the trade, almost the businesses around the world have been taken with like forever. For new SMEs to enter any markets, they need to struggle and they need to innovate something new that they can survive in the market. This is why I have chosen food, because everyone needs food. So this is why I have chosen food, that to make easy for the SME to deal with this kind of products. And especially when we have Oman is in the middle, that it is open to everyone, to Africa, to Asia, to Europe also. It will be easy for the SME to trade this kind of product instead of innovate something that is already there, and they need to, to struggle and to work more to do their own businesses. What exactly we are looking from India is like before. Whenever we want anything, when you come here, immediately we find the solution. My team in Metro Muscat, most of them are from Delhi, and of course we have a lot of Omanis that they are working with us. But normally the solutions, the IT solutions, the logistic and all is from India. Now our expansion that we are talking about 70 to 80 billion dollars that we are spending every year for GCC countries for food is the course that we are going to play for the innovation of AI and using the automation of food for a trade in this market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is absolutely a strategic location, and thank you for bringing out this opportunity to many of the audience here that we need to put our focus in different parts of the world as well, because it's about globalization, not restricted to only 1, 2 or 3 regions. Sir, Mr. Hans, I would like to know more in terms of, and then we will take a quick understanding from all the panelists, but the specific question to you, where do you see and what are your recommendations and suggestions to improve the trade between India and Austria? What all steps the companies and the facilitators like Accent India can take, to catalyze the effort of India and Austria and promote more and more bilateral trade between these two countries?
Trade, normal trade. Very nice. Well, I can say that in the last year, we just got the figures from 2024. We had, unfortunately, Austria, like many European countries, we had a minus in our worldwide exports. So Austrian exports, we had a minus of 4.6%. But to India, we had a plus of, again, 2%. So last 10, 15 years, every year with India, we had export plus. And I can happily say we actually grew with India. So as you know, India 10 years ago was the 10th largest country in the world. So 10 years ago, we had an export volume, maybe a small country, of 800 million euros. And now, India is number 5, and we have export volume of our imports changed completely. So let's say 10, 15 years ago, traditionally we imported textiles, garments. In the meantime, we import 1.5 billion euros. So we actually have a trade deficit with India. India is exporting 200 million more to Austria than we export. And this has completely changed the export structure of India. Now it's engineering goods, now it's motorcycle, now it's also different kind of machineries, now it's food and so on. And from the Austrian side, as I mentioned, from Austria, we continuously all kind of machinery exporting. We are very strong in the automotive supply industry. We are strong in 10 companies. At the moment, I must say we have 160 Austrian companies established here. We are strong 10 companies in the automotive supply industry. We have 10 companies in the railway infrastructure. Most Indian airports using Austrian firefighting vehicles, so these big vehicles you see at the airports, they're mostly from Austria. We have communication, airport communication. We are strong in hydropower plants. We're exporting, we're manufacturing here. We have a brick factory, we have solar industry, alternative energy, so different kind of energies.
So that people can start knowing more about, what they're using. They should be able to identify the right region from where it is coming, especially in India. Yeah.
But one special product is in the consumer sector. So when I go to other countries, in them you get Austrian wine here. I mean, we're not so famous like our other colleagues from European countries. But you find Austrian wine at the international airport. And a new wine importer, we had last week I went to Austrian wine, so I would invite you. And interestingly, we have like 5-6 grapes which are autochthonous to Austria, which you only find from Austria.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. In the interest of time, because I've already received this chit, so in the interest of time, I would like one line.
So India and vice versa will grow. There's no doubt about it. So regarding startup activity, investment activity, expansion, etc., so this will grow. What I think is important, you should see it separate. I think this factor of collaboration, this is very important. The better the stakeholders are working together and collaborating, the higher the potential for growth. That's what I would work on and continue to do so.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, what I would say is like the future of GCC food, the innovation of AI can start here. It's very simple.
Fantastic. I hope some good Indian companies are sitting from, AI, IT. You're getting right business out there. Please keep your ears open.
Well, just to add what was said before, I mean, what was for me really interesting, tradition, as I mentioned before, we have traditional exports machinery. And now, when we work with the startup system, or let's say IT-based companies in India, it's spread all over India. We have these typically 5-6 centers we are traditionally doing business. Now we're in touch with startups from Assam, in Chandigarh, in Jodhpur, all over Kerala, it's all over. That's very interesting, it's positive, but it also makes it more complicated to connect them. So I think I'm not an expert in stuff, but as I see it, I think the best is to connect, as my colleague said before, connect with us, connect with the ecosystems. I mean, there are so many events coming up in India, finding out the right events. So all local states starting with invest something and also with startups events. You get all over India. There's also Committed New India now. Here you really get support, which was not there 10 years before. And all states giving support. So it's really interesting and just connecting with the right people and connect with this ecosystem, what they call it.
So there's a saying, you don't know what you don't know. And I think that kind of trickles down to both, the bottom line of understanding how to enter a market, the regulation, the policy, all the way up to the cultural differences, the visibility, the awareness. And that's something that institutions, Advantage Austria does fantastically for both full startup bridge as well as investor appetite both ways. So it's having these facilitators. I think the facilitators are the key to expansion and growth, because without the facilitators, you are entering a market blind. And that's something that is very fearful, it's very costly, and it's inefficient. And so the more that we have these facilitators in both markets, in Austria and India, understanding each other's markets, understanding the consumer desires, and understanding the kind of product market fits that we can provide each other, the capital flow, etc., that will enhance the activity, that will enhance the growth, and fundamentally it will become much more of a cross-collaboration, both in terms of investment, startup, ecosystem building, and we will see this diversification, because as we all know, the European-US situation is changing, the global geopolitics is changing, and Silicon Valley is no longer the Silicon Valley that it was 10 years ago. So there's huge growth and opportunity aspects, and it's important for the facilitators, startups, SMEs, companies, investors to really take advantage of these new opportunities that are coming to light, such as Austrian-Indian collaboration. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. I think we're doing quite well. I'm not from a political background, but I think we need one thing which can be improved is bringing the right people from the private sector together. And I think this delegation specifically shows that we have from VC funds, from very, very known people from the Austrian market here. And please let me mention one, my friend Rudolf Kinski, who is 70 years old, and for the first time he has come to India, and within 1 week
he's there and moving from there.
Please give him a big kind of applause. So together with Zubert, he's planning to set up a fund of funds from Austria, which should only invest in business. That's a huge thing, and that's when you have the right people from the private sector, it's very helpful. And also Pooja and Priyanka from the family offices.
Pooja and Priyanka.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being
Thank
here.
You so much.
So rightly, all the panelists have mentioned that globalization can be a very, very big dream for some and can be in reality for a few. Provided if we can take the right strategic move, because chasing different markets, understanding different cultures, knowing their language, knowing their need is not that simple. Globalization looks a simple word, but when it comes to do it, it is very challenging, because crossing borders, it is required indeed, but it requires lots of efforts, collective efforts, and these are the welcoming move that we can see from all the eminent speakers who are sitting on the dais. They are actually bringing a lot of contribution to the ecosystem, and that's what Accelerate India is also driving. We are trying to create a global entrepreneurship platform and bring that facilitation to sector-agnostic entrepreneurs. If you're developing something which is solving some problem, we would like to be in the position to take that solution to even the farmost, problems across the globe. So we focus on scalability. We believe that scalability requires a lot of support in terms of funding, because you need capital to scale. But in the end, you need market expansion. You need lots of strategic understanding how you can create and improve the revenue and identify those people who are ready to buy your solution. So for that, these people who are sitting on the dais are giving you the facilitation to reach to the point where you actually be able to capture the market. So thank you very much for being a part of this panel and bringing these difficult scenarios so simply. And Jacqueline, you were completely, that was the last speech from my side also, what you have covered, absolutely. Because facilitators are indeed required, because innovators are supposed to innovate. They need to just build their business. But then people like us who have little network or who can grow their network further for these entrepreneurs, we need to keep working on that. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for being a good audience. And over to you, Asaj.
Now request all the panelists to please step down so that we can present the mementos. Sir, can we have the mementos, please? And may I request all the panelists to please come in the front so we can have a group photograph. Just come for a group photograph. Friends, may I request all of you to please settle down. We are about to start the next session. May I request all the panelists of the next session to come over? Mr. Vinod Sharma, Mr. Marwani.
Hello. Though we would like to invite Mr. Hans to Accelerate India's Pavilion, where 4 Austrian companies are exhibiting. So please join us there. If all the Austrians, I would like to invite all the Austrians to please join us there. And this is at D57. Please. Thank you.
Very quickly, we will start the session. Mr. Vinod Sharma, Tech Electronics and a former chairman of ESC, will be the moderator. Mr. Amrit Manwani, also part of ESC Director of Sahastra Electronics, second speaker, Mr. Excellently. We have been hearing him for the last few days. And finally, we have Mr. Adit Patekar, who will join us all the way from Bombay. So thank you very much for coming. Sir, please.
Yeah, can you hear me? Great. Thank you. How many of you are really interested in learning anything about global value chains? Can I see a show of hands? Oh. So there's at least 3 of us. Why don't the 3 of you also join us here? We can have a conversation.
who does know what a global value chain is?
Chairman, Veer Sagarji is going to answer that. He's written a book about it. Parents of being the student in the first bench. Yes. Sorry, you want to answer that quickly? Might as well make a conversation out of this. Okay.
17 or 16. Basically, that means that some part of it was made there, some part of it was made there. So this is what the global value chain is all about. It's not at one place that we are making final product. So the components are there.
Absolutely right.
Instead of being everywhere, make sure they capture one part of the value chain so that they have some leadership. Capture one part of the value chain so that they have some leadership.
Great. Great. Yeah, okay, so I can pretend to also know a little bit about it. Won't go to the details because that will take up all our session. But suffice to say that, of course, I have a difference, and we did also write to all the people who gave this word value chain to start with, because there is a difference between what I call value chains and value systems. In my opinion, every single company actually is a value chain in itself, because somebody or the other is adding value within what we're trying to do. And when many value chains come together, we could call it a value system. But without going into those finer details, it's a great time to discuss global value chains, because I think the rise of China as a manufacturing factory for the world is based on the fact that they, for the first time in the history of the world, that kind of a robust value chain came together in a limited geographical area called China. Right? The world, for whatever reasons, decided to go and invest in China, give them their technology, give them the ideas, give them the machinery required, thinking that they would make it cheaper for them. But anyway, the result was that the most robust value chain that we could ever imagine is what China has today. But won't go into those details. We have very quickly, in 25 minutes, we want to wrap this session up. Axel has an urgent meeting to go to. So let me just briefly allow my fantastic, galaxy of panelists here. Three of them. Dr. Amit Baitankar, who's from Wari. Wari is wherever the sun shines, I think there is Wari. So I will allow him to do that introduction. But immediately after that is my dear friend and colleague, somebody who I respect dearly, Mr. Amit Manwani. Sahasra Electronics is well known. Right, while Wari made a killing at the main exchange, Mr. Manwani's company also did the same. In fact, fantastic oversubscription to start with, and a great start at the SME exchange, right? In components, in EMS, in systems, and now in semiconductors, which is the most exciting part of it. On my left is Axel. Axel is a dear friend of ESC, of India's Soft. He has seen the journey through these 25 years. And he'll bring it to us not just the European view, but a world view on what is happening in global chains. But why don't I allow you a minute each to introduce yourselves?
Sure. So, Amit, pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having us here. Interesting topic. There can be many discussions on this, as we talked about. It can last for a very long period of time, but we would want to be succinct. I look after Wari Energies Limited, which, as Vinod just said, went IPO a few months ago here, and we were lucky to have timed it well. Well, one can never really time it. There's a hand of God as well in that. We are into solar panels. We manufacture or assemble solar panels, but we also manufacture cells, which are required to make the solar panels, and we are shortly coming up with ingots and wafers manufacturing as well. So getting deeper into the supply chain to ensure that we are more and more resilient.
Group of companies. We have basically, as I call my company, a three-vertical company. We are in components, so we make our printed circuit boards, and as Vinod mentioned, we have gotten into semiconductor packaging. But our mainstay over the last quarter of a century has been EMS business, and we are also into the IT hardware manufacturing. Yes, we came out with an IPO, and as Amit rightly said, we also lucked out in terms of timing. I think there could be a better time than that in the last quarter of last year. So, yeah, happy to be here.
Yes, I'm Axel Engeli. I'm coming from Germany, and well, I'm doing a lot of things. Actually, basically, I'm a computer scientist, engineer. So I come out of this fancy new things like artificial intelligence, but we did it already in the 1980s. And of course, SAP was a big business. But I'm doing more. I'm also relationship building between India and Germany, and India and Africa. And now you wonder, and now this guy is also talking about supply chain. How can this be that this guy is doing all the things? Well, basically what I'm doing, I'm on one part, I'm a teacher, and secondly, I'm a project enabler. So I don't care what the project is about. I want to make the things work. And supply chain is something we have learned through the COVID times. That is something that can break easily if some foul players are not there. Of course, China, we have heard about it. Now the threat comes from the West, from the very West actually, and they are breaking the supply chains for some other reasons.
Thank you, absolutely. Yeah, there's no better time. You talked about good timing on IPOs, but there's no better time to be discussing global value chains as we have today. Thanks to, as you said, the Wild West in a new avatar. But also, don't forget the very robust incumbent on global chains on the east, right, which is China. So my question to the three panelists, the first one on this is exactly that. All these changes that are happening with Trump and reciprocal tariffs and threats of reciprocal tariffs, on the one hand, and China obviously feeling threatened to some extent. Anybody who's at the top of the manufacturing pedestal does not want to lose it. So they will try many things. On the way here too, I was reading an article just yesterday, somebody's interview, where he says how China is quietly making sure that India does not become the next China. Denial of technology, critical machinery, in some case of raw materials. And like I'm always fond of saying, we don't need enemies. We have many well-minded, well-purposed Indians who are trying to do good for India, who with their quality control orders of late, my own consignments are stuck at the border. I can't make capacitors because the lead wires are not coming in, for example, because somebody still gets impacted by that. So in this very interesting space, how do you see it, sir?
So first to our north neighbor, the big middle kingdom as they call it, right? Like you rightly said, solar, honestly speaking, most of the technology was actually from Germany. And then US.
Nothing anymore.
And then US. But then China actually did a phenomenal job, to be honest. I mean, due credit to where it lies, right? In the last 2 decades, they took the cudgels of the technology and they have taken it to a point where it is the cheapest form of energy anywhere in the world. They dominate the supply chains, and of course, it's to the consternation of all the nations. And there are only a very few nations which have actually taken resolute action towards that. One is India and the other one is the US, right? Therefore, these two obviously become very important markets for us because there are tariff and non-tariff barriers which have been imposed by both these nations. None of the other nations have. So, what will the advent of the new trade policies that US is coming up with? Honestly speaking, we actually are looking at it as a big opportunity. As much as we talk about tit-for-tat tariffs, in the supply chain for solar, if there is a tit-for-tat tariff implemented, let's say even zero tariff implemented, in fact we are saying let's just go ahead and implement zero tariff, either side. Who is going to get benefited by that? It's essentially India which is going to get benefited by that. So we are in fact advocating for complete abolition between bilateral treaty between India and the US. We are saying take all tariffs out. We don't need it. Make sure that it doesn't, the genie doesn't come out of the bottle and then suddenly every country demands that, then we are in deep trouble. But between India and the US, we are just advocating zero tariff. And I think it can be very beneficial for both, because in the supply chain there are some pieces that can be done in the US and some pieces that can be done in India. And together I think it's going to be a formidable force.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I would agree with you. Same discussion going on with cell phones. We have already advocated, in fact, to the government in a bilateral, only in a bilateral, of course. As you rightly said, we can't do that with China, for example. But so there are some matured, and especially a company like Wari. You mentioned that you're going down to silicon ingot soon. So with that, and I think you're not alone. There are a couple of other companies that are aiming at it in India. So that's good news. Wherever we have our hands on, or we at least have solid plans on going down the value chain, backward integration, either as a company or as a sector, I think we can take that aggressive stance now and start looking at US as a market and take advantage of the differential duty that Chinese goods versus Indian goods will get in the American market. So I couldn't agree with you more. What about areas where we are not so good, Mr. Manwani? There are, for example, the electronic components. I don't think we have a choice but to sleep with the enemy, in this case, China. What would your thoughts be?
Well, I would not necessarily agree that sleeping with the enemy China. I would look at it a little differently. 30 years ago, 35 years ago, the whole world was moving towards free trade and WTO and IP agreements, etc. So all the nations were talking about let there be no trade barriers. A little before COVID, the whole scenario changed. Everybody wanted to talk about making their own country. We are in Rwanda. I started hearing those words like "make in Rwanda." Certainly, our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, he talked about "make in India." And now, if you post-COVID, particularly, if you go to many countries, everybody talks about making their own country. The last who joined the bandwagon is Mr. Trump himself, saying that made in America. So that trend perhaps will continue for another 20 years. Now, how do we position ourselves? Unfortunately, in the electronics business, we lack a deep manufacturing components. We make some products with a very little value add, but when it comes to component manufacturing, we are way behind our neighbors, even many other countries. So what we have to do is we have to get into deep manufacturing in components. And there are certain components where we have certain edge over the others. We have certain raw materials which we have abundance of. I mean, let me give you an example of metal coat PCBs. In the metal coat PCBs, the aluminum goes from here to Taiwan and China, and then that gets made into a metal clad laminate and comes back to India. Why can't we make those components like metal coat PCBs here? So similarly, capacitors. I think not the MLCCs, but the conventional capacitors, the film capacitors, we are very good at it. So yes, we cannot make all the components, but where we have edge over the others in terms of labor arbitrage, in terms of material arbitrage, I think we should get into that component space. There are two other points that I would like to mention. Number one, that we have to, for long we have not focused on R&D. We have to enhance our R&D, particularly in manufacturing. Only then we can survive the onslaught of not only China but Vietnam, Korea, their pricing. If we have the R&D here and therefore we can add value through IT, we would succeed in being an integral part of the global value chain. The third thing that is very important is that with this protectionism, make in whichever country, make in Europe, make in Ireland, make in UK, made in France, so on and so forth. We have to recognize that we have to look at local partners in whichever country that we want to do business with. Whether it is the US, whether it is the UK, every country is talking about, can you do something here so that we can show some value add locally. So, whether it is the medium-sized companies or small companies, they have to select the right partners and find a way so that they can participate in the local business demand. So those are very, very important. Now from a government side, I think two things are needed. One is that we have to improve our infrastructure, particularly the logistics infrastructure. Look at China, for instance. Their ports are full of adequate space that they have 10 ships every day going to US. It's hard to get even one ship going to the US from India today. So we have to improve upon that. The other thing is, we have to create skill sets, specifically in the domains that we want to be. Whether it is semiconductor or whether it is components where we want to be.
Excellent. You've really a broad canvas covered on many aspects. Thank you, as always, Mr. Manwari. Let me come to Axel very quickly. We discussed MAGA, making America great again, and of course, we don't want to be behind MEGA. You mentioned even Rwanda wants to be great again, right? What are we hearing from Germany and from Europe? By the way, I was delighted to be at a dinner with the European President here with 25, I think, members, very important, whatever they were called. Had a really nice dinner with them. But what was more important than that, I think the moment we felt stressed, on the one hand, I find that there are opportunities to make or renew our alliances with some historical partners that we've had, and Europe is definitely one of them. How do you see this landscape?
Yeah, okay. By the way, in response to Mr. Marita, just to summarize, the most important thing what you mentioned, education is the key. Teach your children well. That is also why India is now a great country, because they invested in education so long ago. It's a dividend that is paid from education. But anyway, okay, let me say, in economic theory, there is something what is called a peak cycle, the cycle of peaks. That explains a behavior of people. So if the demand on pork is rising, then all the farmers all of a sudden start producing pork. But it means that after a while, we have far too much supply on pork. So the prices go down and the whole market gets into turbulences and maybe up to a crashes on this one. Then that's the whole economy works like this. That's the same now with the supply chain. Before, everybody said globalization, so everybody was optimizing. Germany was very much in pharmaceuticals. They say actually, pharmaceuticals produced in Germany is very, very expensive. Or solar panels in Germany, very expensive. Give it to the Chinese, they make it cheaper. Okay, in the end, the Chinese took the whole business, actually, nothing left in Germany with the pharmaceuticals. Now everything, it's now happening everything in India. Hyderabad is the pharmacy of, not only of the world, it's also the pharmacy of Germany. And so that is where the things are happening. We are going into a peak cycle when we say, make in India, make in Rwanda, make in Germany, no. We have to find the reason why we are doing this one. We have to take a certain risk, but we need to control the risk. On the same time, we need to control the costs. That is all what we do. Yep. That's coming from the West, and this is this MAGA movement, but because they are imposing tariffs which are rising the supply chain, brings the whole supply chain system in disorder, and Europe is depending very much, but they are sensitive, and they found now ways actually to bypass, and this means they are moving now from USA to India. MEGA, make India great again.
Hello, this way. Yeah, no, thank you very much for that. Given that there were three of us talking about, or four of us about global value chains, three people who were interested in global value chains, I hope we did well so far. I know Alex is to run, and he's only here. He's waiting for his momentum. So before I wrap it up, because there is an audience, at least in numbers, which is students, right? May I just switch gears a little bit to these young guys. In this whole discussion about global value chains, we did touch upon the opportunities that India sees. But do we have something for the youngsters here?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most fascinating times we live in. and the stars are aligning for the country that we are all in at this point in time. And so I would, if I were you, I would be a very, very keen learner. Keep absorbing knowledge from whatever sources it is coming at this point in time. Education is extremely important. And I think you can carve your career in practically anything and everything that you want, you see and touch. So whatever your aptitude is, the time is now, and it's great time to be in this country.
Excellent, great advice. How about you, sir? I know, like me, you also have a regret, so you talk about that with me. And feel our...
No, as I've said to Vinod many times, I wish I were 50 years younger. The age of students like you. This is really, as Amit also mentioned, this is really the most opportune time for the younger generation of India, and this is the time for India. So you are, in the best of times being in India. However, a couple of just suggestions, I would say, I would not say advice, because, I don't think I have succeeded as much to give advice, but what I would say is have perseverance, and that's what sometimes I find lacking in my own son or grandson. They want to do it everything yesterday, or make a quick kill or whatever. No, I think if you have to be in the industry, then you have to have perseverance, and that is very, very important. Don't expect that you will get rewarded overnight. Industry is a long haul, and have that patience. Invest through the patience capital that you have. I'm sure you will.
Super. Yeah, as Modi ji says, yahi samay hai, sahi samay hai. Right? For all of us, and also the advice about perseverance is great. Life is, when I got out of college, I thought it was a 100-meter dash, and I really dashed out of it. Started burning myself at both ends. And a little later you realize it's actually a marathon. If it is a race at all, now I believe it's not a race. So that's a different philosophy, but the point is that focus on whatever you're doing and do it, and don't think that you can do it for 1 or 2 years and you'll get there. It's a long path. Stay the course. Axel, your final words.
Final word, actually, I can conclude with this one. Actually, the life and world is like a river. You cannot predict how it flows, and everything is changing. And as long as the world is changing, you're alive. The moment everything stands still, you're dead. And don't expect that what you learn today will be valid tomorrow. Education is the key.
So adapt, adopt, yeah, absolutely. Adopt and start enjoying the change. Something that my panel allowed us to do this afternoon. We quickly changed, as you see. The last question was not to do with global value chains, but with what we saw in global value chains, but with what we saw is maybe more interesting to the audience. Thank you very much for your
हो गया सर आज फिनिश बच रहा है अभी
हाँ जी
यहाँ पे बच रहा है ना अभी
अभी और कुछ नहीं है
नहीं है ओके मैं पूछ लूँगा सर मैं पूछ लूँगा मैं ठीक
इसलिए मैं लेके जा रहा था लगाने के लिए क्योंकि चार्ज 5:30 का
Can we have a quick introduction from each one of you? The students, the student delegates. Can we start from this side? From? Can everyone give the please? Is it working or no? वहाँ से आप लोग नीचे से
So my name is Arvind Ismail. Yeah, so my name is so my name is Arvind Menon, and I'm from Ramjas College from the University of Delhi. Should I go deeper into something about myself?
Which course are you doing?
So I'm pursuing BCom honors.
BCom honors?
Yeah.
I thought this was a tech conference.
Yeah, actually, commerce students, that's what I think they gave entry.
Okay, what about the next?
Hello sir, my name is Ayush and I'm from Ramjas College pursuing BCom honors.
Good evening sir, I am Moksh pursuing BCom honors from Ramjas College second year. I am basically from Batinda, Punjab.
So did you attend both the days of conference or you came only today? Okay.
Good evening sir, my name is Tarun. I am pursuing my BCA degree from Kurukshetra University and I am a final year student.
What, any specialization you have? No.
Good evening sir. Sir, my name is Rohit and I am from Kurukshetra University. I am pursuing BCA.
Which year?
Final year.
Good evening sir, my name is Shivansh. I am currently pursuing BCA from Kurukshetra University.
Good evening sir, I am Sabawat Hanuman. I am pursuing computer science and engineering at Faculty of Technology and I am in second. I'm a second year student.
Let me ask a question. This Faculty of Technology is a separate setup within Delhi University. Where is it housed?
Near to VC office. Near to VC office.
Near to VC office. That is main campus. Okay.
Good evening sir, my name is Bansan Mesha. I am studying in Faculty of Technology.
These mics work on artificial intelligence.
Pursuing BTech in EC.
Good morning, sir. My name is Anish Gupta. I'm a BTech student in Technology Delhi University and I'm pursuing my BTech in Electronics and Communication. First year.
Good evening sir, I am Ayush Chauhan pursuing BTech in Electronics and Communication Engineering. I am a second year student from Faculty of Technology, University.
Hello. Good evening sir, I am Manoj and I am pursuing BTech and I am first year student from EC branch from Faculty of Technology, Delhi University. Thank you.
Good evening sir, I am Nishkash from Faculty of Technology. I am currently pursuing BTech in Electronics and Communication Engineering and I am a first year student.
Good evening sir, myself Shivam Charosia. I am pursuing BTech from Faculty of Technology, University of Delhi.
Good evening sir, myself Raman. I am pursuing BTech in Electronics and Communication Engineering from Faculty of Technology, University of Delhi and my specialization in VLSI, very large scale integration. Second.
Anyone else left out among the students?
Good evening sir, I am Shreya Singh, pursuing BTech in EC at Faculty of Technology, University of Delhi.
I am Brijesh Kumar Maure, pursuing BTech in CSE, University of Delhi.
तू भी बता दे भाई बता दे भाई मैं आई अरे नहीं देख उन्होंने बोला सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा स्टूडेंट काम करने वाले हैं सब आगे बढ़ गए वो जाके दूसरे इंस्ट्रक्शन दो तब इंग्लिश में दे रहे सब टफ पूछा ले
मैं तो बोलूँगा कैम माइक लगाओ सीधा। मेरा नाम राजी आई। राजी आई। इंडिया अफ्रीका। एक बार लोन का क्या कर सकते हैं? मैसेज लोन क्या करा जाए? तो तूने मेरे में एप्लीकेशन कर दी, उसके बाद मेरे पास
आगे बैठे बोल रहे हैं जिसमें आया है धर्मेंद्र वहाँ राज में बोल देना क्योंकि डॉक्यूमेंट में धर्मेंद्र है यहाँ राज लिख सकते हैं।
मैं भी लिखवा दूँगा। हर रोज प्यार करता हूँ, हर रोज करवाता हूँ। स्टूडेंट कहाँ गए तुम? कहाँ आ रहे थे? उधर गए थे ये बाहर गए थे या बाहर गए थे? बाहर चले गए थे। बाहर लड़की पसंद आ गई उसको वो देखे नहीं थी और दे देगा
भाई आज का इवेंट खत्म हो गया। कल 12 बजे तक का इवेंट है क्या? हाँ शायद 12-1 बजे तक का।
अभी तू जो है सर मेरे बोले गए हैं कुछ नहीं है और घर में तो बोल गए हैं ये ऑर्गेनाइज करने वाले अरे उनसे ले लेना
टाइम से आधा घंटा सीधा करने में 10 मिनट लगता है।
कुछ नहीं है सब पता है
उसका टाइम मतलब आप ऑन टाइम स्टार्ट करो।
ठीक है, थैंक यू।
ओके
कंफर्मेशन कर लेते हैं
भाई तो उनसे फोन
करो, बंद करो भाई।
भाई तो सर ने बोल दिया
बोला नहीं भाई, बोला नहीं।